meditation. You all here for the second time? Nice. The first thing I like to do is to define meditation, because I believe, from my perspective, that's probably one of the biggest areas of misconception. And part of that, again, not to slam the New Age movement, because I think it's good in the sense that it's awakening people to that there's a much bigger picture of life, of the universe. And just as any educational process, you have to start with something somewhat basic before you can advance to something more advanced. And so a lot of the New Age material, it at least gets you thinking. It gets the conversation started in your head. But over time, you will eventually arrive to study the classical teachings, because that's where it all comes from. A lot of New Age teachings can be traced to just a couple of people, and their foundations were in more classical teachings. So, meditation, what is it? It is the ability to create a singular focus. Of the mind. So that requires that you have what is called a meditation subject. Okay, it could be breath. We'll cover various forms of meditation today. It really doesn't matter the method, okay, or the subject, okay. How you do it doesn't matter. And many, many schools of spiritual practice have a form of meditation, and they all work. What's important is that it has to be a method that you can be somewhat passionate about. What I mean by that is, it's not that you want it to enliven your emotions to the point where you can't settle, but it has to be motivating enough that you'll do it. Because without meditation, all of the greater scope of spiritual understanding just doesn't generally occur. And so you have to have a method to enter into this single-pointed focus of mind in order for all the other awakenings to occur. Buddha said, basically no one will ever realize an enlightened state without entering into the jhanas or samadhi first. And that's why that was taught. That is something interesting enough, because Chan Buddhism, or as we like to say in the West, because of Michio, what's that guy's name? I can't remember. It's a Japanese guy that was responsible for the most material about Zen Buddhism in the West. It's the direct path. Okay, so basically the old method is you go through all the different forms of absorption, 1 through 8. Okay, first 4 are probably the most important. And then, once you've gone through those, you start insight. And that's what leads to awakening to one's true nature. Because of the way Chan and Zen is written, they don't really talk about samadhi or the jhanas. It's kind of like, well, duh. If you're doing spiritual practice, you're obviously doing this, so why do we even need to talk about it? Well, the problem is, because it wasn't talked about, people don't associate their practice with Chan Buddhism. Because their thing is, you go into samadhi or dhyana, and then you start insight right away. You don't worry about 3, 4, 5, 6. If it happens, fine. We don't really care. As long as we can do insight, and then recover, and get our energy right, and then we... So, their methods for doing that were really good in awakening. But because of the way the writings were done and the fact they didn't talk about it, people just assume, oh, well, we just need to think it, and we're there. We don't need to worry about that type of meditation. We just need to do shikantaza, just sitting. So there's a lot of misconceptions as to the importance of actual meditation as comparison to insight. Okay, so that is the definition, to create a singular focus of the mind. And then you have to have a subject or a method in order to do that. What you choose, that's really a personal choice. Now, oftentimes people, unless you're in a tradition that limits your practices, you'll try various methods before you find what works. Now, what's important is to repeat that process. Be aware enough of what you've done to go into this state in order to be able to repeat it and go into it at will. Because it needs to become a skill. It shouldn't be something that kind of happens by accident. You should be able to know how you did it and how to repeat it.